It feels like each and every week a newer, cheaper and more powerful Android smartphone is released. The latest such device to hit shelves in European markets is the Realme GT, which turns out to be very impressive. Outside of India and China, Realme is a fairly unknown quantity is much the same way Xiaomi, Poco and Redmi were just a few years ago. The bargaining cost of flagship smartphones and the high-end internals usually said for those devices has led a surge from the aforementioned brands. It has helped fuel the growth of a rabid fanbase and in Xiaomi's case, taken the Chinese OEM into the top 3 smartphone ranking globally. It's clear from that outset that with the release of the GT 5G, Realme wants to leave Xiaomi, Redmi and Poco in the rearview mirror. So far, it looks like there might be some dust between the Realme GT 5G and the chasing pack. Let's talk about its hardware and design. From afar, this is a plain smartphone that has no major distinguishing features. Sure, it's fine, but by no means a head-turner unless you manage to pick it up in the Kill Bill inspired yellow and black model. The rest of the colors are a little bit lackluster to me, especially the deep blue model I have been using for the better part of a few days. That's a long way to say that the Realme GT is very plain and generic. Is this a bad thing? I think given the positioning as the flagship Realme smartphone maybe, so it can be forgiven in the rest of the package makes up for it. Although there's the added bonus in many ways that you will slap this phone straight into a case or cover. I was surprised at just how thin this phone is. I expected a thick, bulky phone. Many affordable smartphones tend to be thick and sturdy. That's not to say the Realme GT is flimsy. The glossy rear panel is coated in 3D Gorilla Glass and it picks up fingerprints with aplomb. The hardware package is enhanced with the addition of a 3.5mm headphone port along the bottom edge. It's quite rare to see devices touted as flagship with the port, so it's a fine addition to the hardware package. At the side, the volume and power buttons have a nice clicky feel when pressed or accessed to. All in all, it's nice enough. It's lightweight but with an assured hand feel that belies the low price tag. Now let's talk about its display. One of the most striking aspects of the Realme GT is the 120Hz Full HD Plus AMOLED display, which looks eerily similar to the panel found on the OnePlus 8T. It's large and vibrant, with fairly minimal bezels at the edges of the 6.40-inch display. Realme decided to go for a flat display and it's very welcome here. Every interaction is heightened and improved as a result, especially when the 120Hz refresh rate is activated. There is a 600 nit maximum brightness which seems low but has been more than accurate for use in bright daylight. The in-display scanner is the super fast, consistent and well placed. It's always good not to be inhibited by the biometric access points to your device, as waiting longer than you probably should is a frustrating aspect of any device. Luckily, the Realme GT doesn't suffer from a bad fingerprint scanner. One thing that is worth nothing is that Widevine L1 certification is not included here, so that means Full HD Netflix is not an option on the Realme GT. It's a frustrating omission when you have such a good display. Let's talk about its software and performance. With 8GB of RAM and the top tier Snapdragon 888 chipset packed inside, the Realme GT has all the prerequisites needed for exceptional performance. I'm pleased to say that everything runs sleek and smooth without the hiccup inside. Realme UI is very much in the ColorOS mold. It almost, dare I say it, feels like a step between Oxygen OS 11 and ColorOS, but with more than a foot in the Oppo OS. If you like customization, then you will have so many options at your fingertips to tweak until you are content. One annoyance is the lack of ability to launch the camera app. With a double press of the power button, you can use off-screen gesture to quickly launch into the camera app, but it's not quite as intuitive. I do hope that future Realme UI builds can add the options for this useful quick gesture. A Realme GT mode is also included in the software that supposedly boosts performance but with a potential battery heat. I honestly cannot say with any sort of certainty if this even makes a difference to what is already blistering performance level. I've yet to see a slowdown of any note. Gaming, video rendering, recording 4K 60fps video, the Realme GT doesn't skip a beat. Everything seems to happen at the blink of an eye. Apps load instantly, games run at highest setting with solid frame rates, and the 120Hz refresh rate just aids the feeling of speed. Now let's talk about this camera. If you are thinking of picking up the Realme GT for its camera, then like any budget flagship, you might be a tad disappointed. The primary 64 megapixel camera produces fairly good image with rich, vibrant colors that pop. It's just on the very cusp of color accurate to my eye. Images look sharp and crisp with the 64 megapixel sensor allowing for some good image depth, but the white balance sometimes suffers. The secondary ultrawide is very average with an immediate noticeable drop down in quality. Images can be very soft and there is even a little vignetting in the image fringes. The camera quality is exacerbated with the inclusion of yet another pointless macro lens. It's fine for a little bit of folly every now and again, but it's a fairly pointless inclusion likely to help lower the overall device protection cost. I found the Realme GT to have a good battery when forcing the screen refresh rate to stay at 120Hz. Screening on time reading regularly tipped over the 7-hour mark, which is pretty good in my book. Sure, I would love to reach 10 plus hours, but the 4500 mAh battery handles my usual use case with aplomb. Tuning the refresh rate down to 60Hz will have an undoubtable lifespan aspect, but it would be criminal to not enjoy the display in full flow. Bundled in the box is a 65-watt charger brick, which is insanely fast. I clocked 0 to 100% in under 40 minutes, which is frankly ludicrous. It would have been nice to have wireless charging included, but it's understandably when this is an affordably focused device. All in all, the battery tips towards the good end of the scale. I had no problems using it for long days, and just a few minutes on a charger is enough to alleviate any worries about not reaching even the most intense of day. The Realme GT 5G is a fantastic package if you don't mind that the camera or build quality are not core tenets of this device. Device performance happens to be levels above that of the Poco F3, which we have rated as the best value flagship you can buy right, and one that always crops up when discussing affordability and smartphone. That said, while this isn't quite able to match the likes of the Galaxy S21 and even the OnePlus 9 series, I really have enjoyed using the Realme GT despite some of the main shortcomings. It's an impressive hunk of tech that leverages the power of the latest Snapdragon chip and a genuinely great AMOLED display. So that's all for today. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, feel free to share with your friends. Go check out the description box below to get this awesome gadget, and don't forget to subscribe our channel for more latest cool reviews.